Bottomline.
Welcome to the Pay Mode edition of the Payments Podcast. I'm Bottomline Managing Editor Owen McDonald. This series of Pay Mode themed podcasts looks at the hottest trends in business payments with Paul McMeekin, Vice President of Marketing at Bottomline, along with expert guests. In this episode, Paul welcomes Rebecca Meeker, Senior Vice President, B2B Partnerships and Embedded Finance at Mastercard. They discuss improving fragmented business payments experiences in a new take on B2B consumerization, be it with embedded finance, virtual card, or other capabilities. Here's Paul McMeekin and Rebecca Meeker.
Welcome to the Payments Podcast. My name is Paul McMeekin. I'm your host today, continuing the special Pay Mode series. And with me today is Rebecca Meeker from Mastercard. Rebecca, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
Rebecca, before we dive into embedded finance today, I would love to know a little bit about you and a little bit about your background.
Sure. So I've been with Mastercard for almost 8 years now. Have come from a B2B background. Spent about half of my career helping buyers and suppliers get integrated, digitizing POs and invoices. And then naturally, the back half of my career has been spent helping Treasury, cash management connect to their banks. Mostly on all payment modalities, SWIFT, ACH, except for card, which I've picked up since I've been at Mastercard the last 8 years.
How are you approaching embedded finance at Mastercard?
So we believe strongly that the payment actually should be part of the workflow for a purchase. So you go to source, you make a procurement event, and then you receive the invoices for the services or goods that you've received. And then we feel like in that user journey, the payment belongs there, as opposed to today in the corporate world, whether you're a large, enterprise or even mid-market, payment is a fragmented, disconnected process that happens over off in the corner someplace. And so we think it should be a seamless journey, very similar to what we experience in our consumer lives when we go to buy something.
What are you guys doing for cross-border payments?
So Mastercard actually has licensing, and we do offer cross-border payments. We do it for consumers, people who want to send money back home, but we're also building out in the commercial space as well. We're also building out in capabilities. Usually these days when somebody asks about cross-border, they'll also take the natural progression to talk about stable coins as well, which we're also seeing increased interest. Right now, a lot of our focus is around helping financial institutions, banks, or fintechs actually mint or redeem and build out their own capabilities. But we are in the digital currency world as well as the cross-border space, non-card payments, seeing the synergy of overlap of the two, right? So our teams are working on that to build out capabilities for corporations to be able to use overlapped capabilities between our digital currencies, card, as well as cross-border. At the end of the day, we want a corporation to have the most optimized experience for how to send the payment.
What are some of the most promising use cases you have seen in embedded payments?
I think the one that everybody is most familiar with is paying an invoice. So purchase order issued, invoices submitted, it's 3-way, 10-way matched, right? You receive the goods and services that you've purchased and go to pay, and a decision has been made to actually use a card for that particular spend and pay that supplier. That's probably the most obvious one that most of the procure-to-pay networks and ERPs have built out. But where we're starting to see some creativity is linking virtual cards, not just for credit lines, but also you could say pre-funded or financed, where you can actually put financed excess cash balance on the virtual card, using a virtual card more like a digital asset as opposed to card. Everybody thinks virtual card still the plastic restrictions.
Yeah.
But in this case, if you can put any kind of capital or funding on that virtual card and you can link it to other use cases, it starts to open up opportunities where you can link it to contracts. Maybe you need to pre-fund and advance funds to somebody. You can do it for purchase orders. You can now link it to one-time spend, right? So one-time spend, long tail ad hoc vendors is 20% of your actual spend, but probably 80% of your FTE workload and process inefficiencies. So
you mentioned something there. You mentioned digital assets, one-time use, and it got me thinking about the security angle. If payments get embedded into a non-financial platform, how is the payment kept secure?
I hate to just anchor just on the virtual card and the card piece of it, because we do a lot of other things at Mastercard, but the virtual card does inherently, naturally just provide a lot of security, right? It's tokenized. Also, when it's embedded, you've removed third-party processes, extra people touching, the process for manual, failures or errors. So just reduction of people touching it just makes it more secure. There's also security and controls around the card, so you can determine who is using, when are they using it, what time frame are they using it. So if you want to approve Rebecca to only use this card between this day and this day for this amount at this particular merchant, like, you can lock it down. So I think a combination of all those just brings more just organic security to the situation.
If I can lock things down and there's a record of all of that sort of stuff, it helps with the audit trail.
Yeah. You have an audit trail of what was done, when it was done. Card just naturally has the line items linked to it. The one thing with non-card payments is that, a purchase is made, a payment is made, there's a reference ID linked to the payment, but as it goes through the system and the various clearinghouses, all the data is dropped, and you get a reference ID back with the payment amount. And that's where the reconciliation challenges start to happen, because people have to map that reference ID with the payment amount back to what I was originally initiated the payment. But with card, because of the messaging formats in the card system, it's just, the structure's just naturally there for reconciliation. So not advocating that it's the answer for everything, but I think most corporations say they do 2-3% of their spend on card, and they think there's opportunity to optimize at 10-15%.
Next question. What do you see the future holding for embedded finance in the next 3 to 5 years?
I think it just becomes the status quo of how companies just start doing things. There's just a process efficiency, a cost savings, reduction of IT projects every time you want to touch your vendor master file, every time you want to set up a new payment request. If organizations out there like the procure-to-pay systems, treasury cash management, receivables, ERPs, if they start just building in just organic capabilities to be able to manage the payment linked to how you're purchasing or how you're being paid to reconcile your receivables, then it just starts reducing some of the effort of companies trying to bring that to life.
That makes sense. And if you could give one piece of advice about the future of payments to CFOs and treasurers, what would it be?
Start trusting in the technology and trying it and using it. Also, I think encouraging and providing that atmosphere for your team and your organization to be able to lift out of firefighting. Let's face it, most individuals in the back office are, pretty overburdened, overworked, have a lot on their plate and always firefighting. So giving them the space occasionally that they can start looking into ways that they can be more strategic and make improvements to how they're doing their day job, I think would be very helpful.
Well, thank you, Rebecca.
Well, thank you.
Pay-by-invoice, procure-to-pay, linking virtual cards for new use cases, all while keeping payment security ultra tight. These were just some of the takeaways from this informative episode. A very big thanks to Mastercard's Rebecca Meeker and to co-host Paul McMeekin. To our audience, the smartest people in B2B payments, thanks for listening. Hit subscribe. Catch us again on your favorite podcast platforms, including Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, YouTube, and Blueberry. Bye for now.
The Payments Podcast from Bottomline.